Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor. This is Sports Daily on Wichita's #1 sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
All right, welcome in, everybody, to a Thursday edition of Sports Daily. Thursday's always fun on the program. Jacob Albracht here with Tommy Castor, Chad Chambers producing, manning that IHOP hotline at 869-1240. Coming up on the show today, we'll have our K-State insider, Tim Fitzgerald, get the latest on the transfer situation, who's in, who's out. Little K-State hoops talk as well. Our betting insider, Chelsea Messenger, stops by, gets a look at Thursday night football and a look ahead to a big football weekend, maybe the last big, massive football weekend we have on the schedule as college football hits conference championship games. We'll talk about all that. We'll talk about the Shockers last night as they get a big win, an impressive win over Richmond. I dare to say easily the most impressive performance of the year for Wichita State. We'll get into all of it. We'll give away some HTO. Tommy, how are you this morning?
Man, I'm good. It was good to watch that Shocker game last night, and I know we're going to get into it as the show goes on, but impressive victory. I'm with you, backing you up on that. That was a pretty impressive win last night.
It was Charles Koch Arena. They get the big win, double digits in a game against a team that, we suspect will end up being pretty good this year. At least that's the expectation for Richmond. We get Thursday night football, Major League Baseball. So we got some movement on some contracts, some free agency, all that kind of stuff. Really is busy time of the year. It's one of the best football weeks of the year because you get all the conference championship games. I think we've got some really, really good ones this year with compelling and impactful implications on the CFP. So we can get into some of those as well. Here we go. It's Thursday already. And we go into it. I think the start is Wichita State basketball, Tommy, for sure. So last night, Wichita State comes in, beats Richmond 80-68. You've got a balanced attack for Wichita State. 5 starters, basically, all 5 in double digits. And then Dalen Ridgnall, who is the 6th man right now in the rotation, had 9. So everybody was contributing. It was a very balanced attack. Still not a great 3-point shooting performance for Wichita State, but they didn't take an absurd amount of threes, so you live with it. They shot the ball otherwise pretty well. They still aren't making free throws at a high enough clip for my taste. They win the rebounding battle, Tommy. They have a nice assist to turnover ratio. They didn't turn the ball over too much. It was just all in all, it was a really nice performance.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, honestly, I'm with you. Really, the only thing that is kind of glaring from a negative perspective is just the free throw shooting. And that's something that will need to come along and develop as the season, rolls on. Only 52% from the charity stripe. That's not going to get it done as the season progresses. So they've got to get better at that. But really, other than that, a pretty impressive output for Wichita State. You used the word balanced. And I think that is the perfect word to describe it, because you've got, of course, all your 5 starters that are contributing pretty much evenly. And then Dalen Ridgnall off the bench. I thought the assists were good. They took care of the ball, didn't turn it over. And then defensively, they had 5 steals on the night as well. So I thought overall, minus the free throw shooting woes, it was a really solid night for Wichita State.
It was. And you've got a situation, too, where it's a 7-man rotation, right? We've talked about it. That's it. That's all that played. 7 guys. Isaac Abide was the other who stepped in. So those things are sorting themselves out for sure. I think balance will be the best version of this team. Don't you, Tommy? Like, I don't know that this is a team, at least based on what we've seen so far, where you want to see somebody consistently be the guy. It's kind of nice to mix it up a little bit because, outside of Colby Rogers, I guess, offensively, I don't know that it's like going to be the DNA of this team. When you look at it last night, Xavier Bell was 6-9 from the field. That's fantastic, right? From your point guard, he hit a couple of threes. So there are going to be nights where Xavier Bell is, X is up there in scoring. There'll be probably other nights where he's not, and they'll still have a good chance to win because maybe it's a game where Kenny Poto is leaned on. Richmond has a big, as you mentioned yesterday. Okay, well, the guards are really going to stand out offensively in that situation. I think that's fine. I think it's good, actually, because I don't know that this is a team, again, that looks like it needs to be one guy consistently. And we know, like K-State's the opposite, right? We know K-State's going to lean hard on one or two guys. KU is leaning hard right now on two guys. I don't think Wichita State needs to be doing that. I think they need to be doing what we saw last night, which is who knows who it's going to be every night. And that balanced attack will be the best thing for this team.
Well, they're in a position to where they can take what their opponent gives them, right? And depending on who they're playing, they've got weapons that they can lean on that do different things. Remember back in the Norfolk State game, Kenny Poto had 25 points, right? So it was him in one game. Colby Rogers has had games where he's been the leading scorer. It just kind of depends upon who they're playing and what the opponent gives them. You mentioned at the beginning about how impressive of a victory this is for Wichita State. I was looking back, and this was the highest KenPom rated opponent that the Shockers have beaten since February of 2022 when they beat SMU inside Koch Arena. So we're coming up on 2 years from the last time that Wichita State beat a KenPom opponent that was up that high. So definitely impressive they're at the time, right? And so they are, in a position where, they played a team that is higher than them in the KenPom. Of course, that's one metric, right? We're talking about metrics here.
Sure.
So, but still, I think that you can use that as a baseline, and you got to go all the way back to SMU back in 2022, the last time that the Shockers beat a team that was that high in the KenPom.
And it does matter too, because that was sort of our thing last year, right? It was like, they just can't beat anybody good. And they've had one real good shot. By the way, the win last night moved Wichita State for the first time inside the top 100. I believe that's the first time they've been inside the top 100. They are this morning. They'll get another one against Mizzou. And again, we talk about it. Like, these next stretch of games will be very important for Wichita State. First one, passed with flying colors. Love it. Like, that was... It's hard to imagine drawing it up any better. I have not listened to Paul Mills' post-game reaction last night. I'm curious to know what he's thinking about, 19 shots from Rogers and 9 threes. Like, are they comfortable with that? Is that what they want Colby Rogers to do? Very well could be, because we know the reputation he has as a shooter. If he's got that kind of volume and there are nights where he really heats up, the Shockers are going to have a great chance to win a game.
Right.
So I'd be curious to hear that. I just, as you look at it and watch the game, I think I'm comfortable with it. Like, I think I'm okay with it, because somebody, you want somebody to just sort of heat check the night. And Colby Rogers is the best candidate, I think, on the Shockers right now. But, in the KenPom wins, that was the problem last year. It was like they couldn't beat anybody good, right? And so this was, we think, a good team. Now, things can change, right? We're still not even 10 games into a season. There's a lot of guesswork in how good teams actually are right now. I think, though, no matter what happens, this is going to be one of their better wins of the year. I think the stretch, including Mizzou, KU, and K-State, will be 3 of the better games they play this year. I don't know what to make of Mizzou. I really don't. Like, I've got a nothing burger on Mizzou. But KU and K-State will probably, it'll be KU, K-State, FAU, and Memphis. Those will be the best 4 teams that play this year. So getting it revved up. You watched that game last night. You mentioned maybe the Shockers have a chance against K-State. I think watching last night, I probably lean more to your side on that than I did going into the game. I still think it will be a tall challenge, but I think absolutely they could. Wichita State's interesting, Tommy. They have experience, which you need, right, to be a good team. They have size, which you need to compete with high-level teams most of the time. It's really been like, do they have enough at the guard position? And that's been like the least of their worries. Xavier Bell's been really good this year, and Colby Rogers is showing us. I mean, how good would last year's team been if Colby Rogers had been able to play? I think you think about that a lot. But I think that this team has the DNA to be really good.
Yeah, and look, you go back to all of the different, the 8 games they've played so far this season, and talking about balance, Colby Rogers was the leading scorer in 4 of them, Xavier Bell in 2, and Kenny Poto in 2. So that you're going to lean on one of those 3 guys. But then what kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit, because we're talking about scoring and points leaders and all of that, is Harlan Beverly. We haven't mentioned his name so far. He had 13 points, but he facilitated fantastic last night. 7 assists.
Yeah.
He had 8 assists in the game against Norfolk State. So 15 assists over the last 2 games. And that's, I mean, watching the game last night, I mean, he set up so many offensive opportunities for Wichita State. And so that's something that's been crucial also the last couple of games, and something I think that will continue.
Well, and you feel good knowing that either he or Bell can run the point, right? And they can both play on the floor at the same time too, but that was the biggest question coming in with all the eligibility issues for Wichita State was, are they going to have enough at point guard, like that position specifically? And I think with those two, I feel pretty good about it. They're very different players, but they're getting the job done in different ways, and that's great. We talk about the bigs, coming back from Myrtle Beach. Paul Mills mentioned getting more offense out of the bigs. They did that very, emphatically with Kenny Poto against Norfolk State. I wonder what are some of those magic number type things? Because I think we probably need to look at it as a combination of Poto and Ballard more than just one or the other. You know what I mean? So, for example, last night it was 20 and 15 from the two bigs. Is that enough? And is that sort of that feels like a pretty good baseline for those two guys, because I do think like you've got to look at them collectively as much as you do individually to get like the production from that spot on the floor as much as any specific player. And I do think that's enough. I said I think Wichita State in most games that they play should have a rebounding advantage. And that to me is the most important thing. And again, that's to me. I could be way wrong about that. But like as long as those guys are making sure, well, two things. You're blocking shots, which they have been consistently, and you're rebounding better than your opposition, they'll have their production out of those spots. How much offense do those two generate together? I think that may vary from night to night. Like it was pretty clear. Well, it looked to me like Richmond was trying very hard to take Poto away. Like they were all over him, when he comes out to the perimeter a lot. They were denying him when he didn't have the ball pretty effectively. And so Wichita State worked around it and it was fine. And that may happen. That may happen a lot because teams, it's easier offense, obviously, if Kenny Poto's leading the way than it is if your guards are having to shoot the ball. So maybe that's something teams are going to try to do, and Wichita State will need to shoot it a little better. You'd like to see him shoot the three. I don't know what's going on at Koch Arena on game days. It hasn't felt like anybody's been able to shoot threes well in Koch Arena for 3 years, Tommy. And like, I just want to know, like, when you practice in Koch Arena, are these shots falling? Like, is there something happening? Is there like a depth perception thing or what? Like, what is going on? Are they falling in practice? Because it really, like, when was the last time you felt like a bunch of threes were going to fall for Wichita State? It feels like it's been like 3 years since that's happened.
It's been a while, right? Like it really has been. I think that as this team continues to grow, I think we should obviously see the atmosphere continue to grow as well. Like it wasn't great for a while, right? I think we all know that, towards the end of the Isaac Brown era, it was not good. A lot of empty seats in Koch Arena. Just there was really no energy. And a lot of that, I think, comes down to the way that team was playing at the time. They really didn't play with a whole lot of energy. So there just really wasn't a whole lot of energy in the building as well. Hopefully, as things continue, we continue to see, people show up. And I mean, there were still quite a few open seats last night, but I'd like to think that in this new era and the way that they're playing basketball, the style in which they play, the way that Paul Mills coaches, all of that, and the fact that, oh, by the way, they're 7-1 to start the season. It's been a while since that's happened. Hopefully we start to see more people start to come out, and to your point, the lid, maybe be lifted off the hoop a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. I mean, it's fine last night. They didn't, 30%. It's not quite good enough, but as long as you're not taking a ton, I guess it's fine. I do think Rogers needs to take a decent number of them, and if they're not open, don't take them. But I think you got to keep trying to do it. I don't think it's something you can abandon. I think you have to try. And what was the number last night on threes? 20 something. What did they take? 21.
21.
That's probably about right. I mean, that's probably
I'd
have to go game by game.
I don't have an issue with that.
I don't. That doesn't. And because even if you're not shooting it well, I think you still got to give it give it a shot. And so,
I mean,
that's
break it
probably
down.
fine.
Break it down this way, and I know it didn't play out this way, but on average, that's about 10 threes a half. So you're talking about one every 2 minutes or so. That's what, one every 2.5, 3 possessions. If my math is correct, I'm okay with that. I think that's probably a pretty decent way to play, and you've got the shooters that can make those, whether it's Rogers or Bell, or they've got the guys that can make that happen. So I'm okay with that number of threes that they're averaging.
So let's look at it. I'm just going to go kind of game by game here. Again, going backwards against Norfolk State, they took 17, sort of in that same range, kind of shot, the same sort of percentage, right around 30%, actually a little bit less. Against Liberty, they didn't take very many against Liberty. They took 14, just 2 of 14. So they just, they bailed on that in that game. That game was, I don't know what to make of that game. So then against St. Louis, when they played really well offensively, that's when Rogers shot the lights out, right? They still only took 22 and were still around 30%. So, it probably just is what it is, Tommy. It's probably going to be about a 30% three-point shooting team, which definitely is not like a super strength. So, I mean, that's going to be, I don't think we're going to see this team take a ton of them.
You know what? Like, I remember a year ago, we were talking about how this team, and it wasn't obviously the exact same team, but the Shockers were launching up threes and they were never really adjusting when they weren't falling. I think it's a little bit different this season because they've got the fast-paced play to be able, I mean, I would imagine, I haven't looked at this, but I would think that they're averaging more possessions a game than they did a year ago. So they had limited, I felt like last season, limited opportunities offensively. And so if you're launching up threes and they're not falling at that point a season ago, like, do something different. In this case with this team, they're playing much more fast-paced, much more tempoed basketball. I would think they're getting the ball more. And so at that point, I'm okay with them shooting more threes and not adjusting in that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would have to defer to like Taylor Eldridge or obviously Coach Mills on this. So I'm trying to find, when you said pace of play, I'm looking at possessions per game. This is I think as of right now, I think these are updated. Wichita State's like 90th in the country in possessions per game. So, their pace is, kind of middle of the pack-ish. Which is,
it's got to be better than last year, though. I don't know what their numbers were a year ago, but I can't imagine it was anywhere close to that.
Last year, they were at 70 possessions a game. This year, they're at 74, which feels like, let me sort it by last year. So for the year, then Wichita State last year, well, it doesn't rank them for me. So they would have been about middle of the pack last year too. It's honestly similar. I mean, they're getting more per game, obviously, this year, but so is the rest of college basketball right now. We'll have to check back in on that later. But they're not, I don't think pace of play. And again, like, please don't think I'm mistaking myself for a college basketball coach. Like, a lot of this stuff's over my head. I think a faster pace, though, leads to fewer threes. Right in my head, like you're running and you're creating space to get easier shots, right? Because
I'm just thinking that
you're moving it quickly.
They should be having more opportunities to score offensively.
Oh, that's what you agree. Doesn't have to be a 3-point shot. That's what I'm saying. Like, when you slow down that offense, like, sometimes all you're going to end up with is a 3.
Right? I remember, a season ago feeling like they never had opportunities, and so make the most of them when you have them. And if you're going to launch threes and not make them, do something different. I feel differently this season with this squad, the way they're coached.
They're not forcing it.
Right.
They're taking 20 a game. Like, they're not hitting any. Like, they're not a good 3-point shooting team right now, but they're not taking a ton. So you're like, okay, fine. Like, who cares? And that, and that pushes into offense through the bigs and those kinds of things. It's been awesome to see Xavier Bell create the way he has, offensively. That helps too. So look, we're feeling good today, obviously. A big win, the biggest win of the season against probably the second best opponent that they've played this year. Feels pretty good. Now let's see what they do in the other 5 games of this stretch, and we'll see if the good vibes continue with Wichita State basketball. Well, it's a lot of fun to be talking about it this way. I'll tell you that. Best start in a long time for this team. So we'll get into it. You, of course, hear all the Shocker games right here on the Shocker Radio Network with us. They're over on KEYN, as it was last night. A lot of fun. Mike Kennedy on those calls. We'll come back. let's go elsewhere. We got Chelsea Messenger, our pal, joining us next to look ahead to Thursday Night Football and all the rest of the bets we can make this week. That's next on Sports Daily.
On the line is the host of the Daily Tip and Odyssey sports betting insider, Chelsea Messenger. Insider calls are presented by BetMGM. Go check out all of the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. Also, be sure to check out the Daily Tip podcast for more of Chelsea Messenger analysis. Just search BetMGM wherever you find your podcasts.
All right, and welcome in, everybody, back to Sports Daily as we welcome in our pal Chelsea Messenger. Chelsea, how are you? Getting ready for one of the more fun football weekends of the year, I assume. How's it going?
Yeah, I was debating if this coming Saturday is the best Saturday of college football or if it was last Saturday. Because I think I would still say rivalry week is still the most fun Saturday of the entire year because there are more games. But we do have some really big matchups with huge implications this weekend. So an almost equally fun Saturday on our hands.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that. Let's start with Thursday Night Football. We'll get to some college football and championship week. We'll get into some NFL Sunday. But we got Thursday Night Football. Finally a good one, we think, at least, on paper. On paper, the Cowboys are 9.5-point favorites. Now, like we typically, right, we don't like big lines like that, but the Cowboys have been covering these big lines 3 weeks in a row. What are you thinking tonight?
Yeah, that's really what the numbers are suggesting. The Cowboys have been really solid as favorites this year. 8-1 against the spread as favorites, and they've won 6 games this year, or maybe 7. Yeah, 7 including last week, by 17-plus points. So usually when the Cowboys are winning, they are winning big. And plus, at home is not the spot where you really want to fade the Cowboys. A perfect 5-0 straight up and against the spread when playing at home this season. Also, Dak Prescott has been markedly better at home, a completion percentage of 77% at home, 15 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. The Seahawks are kind of trending in the wrong direction, just got smacked around by the Niners. And that's another thing. Usually a team coming off playing the Niners does not play well the week after because that team is so physical on the defense that this is not a team that, lets off their opponents easy. So I think going up against the Cowboys on the road here, a really tough spot for a Seahawks team where Geno Smith is a little banged up. Kenneth Walker III isn't playing. So begrudgingly, I will be taking the Cowboys -9, -9.5. It's a big number, but I do think they cover it.
The public is all over the Cowboys in this game tonight, including the spread, which I know that we just talked about why that is. I mean, do you think that just generally speaking, that's people that are looking at what the Cowboys have done over the last few weeks, and that's why they're jumping on that?
I would assume so. And plus now we're starting to get some talk about Dak Prescott winning the MVP, which I was unaware of. Honestly, padding your stats against bad teams isn't really making a case for me. It just makes that game against the Eagles next week even bigger for the Cowboys. Because right now, I think you can't give it to Dak Prescott. You'd have to give it to Jalen Hurts because he has done it in more meaningful games so far. But that is a storyline here. Dak Prescott trying to make a case for MVP. Maybe you take a chance on him running it in for a touchdown. I believe you get pretty good odds on that as well. But still, remember the narrative going into this season. Everybody was crashing on Dak Prescott because he led the league in interceptions. So, yes, it is a square play. Yes, it is a very publicly bet team. But I still feel like there are plenty of logical reasons to take the Cowboys tonight.
What else in this game? Over under of 47, I think always gets tricky with the Cowboys. Unders have been good all year. Their defense is good. Props, like what else are we looking at in this game? Because we're all going to get little bonuses on our betting sites for same game parlays and all that. Anything else standing out to you?
Yeah, it's tough because this game has blowout potential. And it's tough even with the Cowboys because the Cowboys are a team that usually if you are leading a game, you will run the football and you will try to wear down the clock. But the Cowboys, they continue to throw the ball. If you look at Dak Prescott, even in these blowout games, he's had over 300-yard passing in 4 of his last 5. So that's what makes it tough kind of doing props tonight. But somebody I would look at who has been on the rise as of late is Brandon Cooks. His number is actually pretty low tonight. If you look at the prop for Brandon Cooks, he has hit this in 4 of his last 5 games. And I'm trying to pull it up. Let's see. Receiving props, Brandon Cooks, over 41.5. Yes, a very gettable number here. For somebody who's seen an increase in his targets as well, I think everybody probably gets their props tonight. I think Dak Prescott throws for a lot of yards. I think he gets a couple of touchdowns as well. But Brandon Cooks would be my best bet just because his number is a lot lower than what we see for CeeDee Lamb, who had a quiet game against the Commanders, surprisingly so. Meanwhile, Cooks had 72 yards in that game. I'll go Brandon Cooks over his receiving prop, 40.5 yards.
One more question about the game tonight, Chelsea. How in the world, is there an angle at all to attack the Cowboys running game? Tony Pollard, it really hasn't done a ton this season, but yet, there's really no value for him at all as far as an anytime touchdown score or anything like that. Do you see that changing at all in the future? Any angles at all to bet the running game?
Yeah, it's surprising to me that he's minus 145 to score a touchdown, although he only has 4 touchdowns total this season. So it just seems like too high of a price to me. And like I said, the Cowboys, even when they're in blowout games, aren't really running the ball that much. Like Tony Pollard has had, it looks like exactly 12 carries in 3 of the last 5 with no more than 15 carries in any of those. And all of those were pretty positive game scripts with the exception of the loss to the Eagles. So it just doesn't feel like a place that I would feel comfortable putting my money on.
Okay, we'll go back to the NFL on Sunday, but we'll go in chronological order here then, Chelsea, as we look to this college football Saturday. Not as many games, but man, these games are almost all games that we can get excited about. What has your eye on the college football slate this weekend?
Well, it has to be the Oregon and the Washington game. That line looks extremely fishy, and I'm wondering if I should even bet it because Washington's getting 9.5. Now it's 10 at some spots. So that's another fishy line alert, is the fact that Washington seems like the obvious play, but yet the spread's going the other direction. So clearly somebody's taking Oregon, and the books maybe know something that we don't know. But if you remember, Oregon and Washington played earlier in the season. It was a very close game. Both quarterbacks really dueling it out. Bo Nix, despite the loss, played really well. But Washington won it by a field goal. So you're telling me in a conference championship game at a neutral site, Washington's getting 10 here? I just feel like Washington's the play, but there is another way to play this. If you think Oregon wins, Oregon on the money line is like minus 295, or no, it's minus 350. Good God. You could take Bo Nix to win the Heisman. I think at minus 180. It seems a little juicy, but that's way better than taking Oregon on the money line. If Oregon wins, Bo Nix wins the Heisman.
I might be an idiot here, Chelsea, and I'm an idiot in a lot of different ways, but looking at the Big Ten championship game, I kind of like Iowa to cover on this. I mean, I don't think there's any world in which they win, but they're 22-point underdogs, and they don't score the football at all. But then they also have a really solid defense. I mean, am I wrong in thinking that there's a good chance that they might cover that 22?
Have you seen their offense? Have you been watching the same games that I'm watching?
I know they don't score, but they can keep others from scoring too.
Oh, man, good luck to you. Good luck to you. Because I guess you could say it's too many points, and it is a lot of points. But Michigan's offensive line is so good that I feel like they are a cheat code for just about any defensive line. Because you're right, Iowa's been a really good defense, good at stopping the run as well. But wasn't that the case for Penn State and Ohio State? Both of those defenses came in as top 5 defenses, and Michigan continued to roll. Their offense, scoring 30 points against Ohio State, 24 doesn't sound like a lot, but against Penn State, that was very much a rock fight. So I just don't see Iowa keeping up. Like maybe they cover in a sweat, but it's not something I would put my money on. A team that I have watched some of their games this year, and what was that score? 3-2 against, I forget who, but their games, I don't even want to watch them.
No, don't punish yourself. But I will say this out of that game, there is some really fun stuff. You want to talk about like just wild stuff. Right now on some books, you can get an Iowa team total in the first half at normal juice of 2.5 points. Basically, it's even money, close to it, if Iowa just scores in the first half. I can't remember anything like that ever.
Yeah, but have you seen Iowa's offense?
I get
think
it.
for
No,
them-
I get it. But how can you bet
them
against
to-
that? Like, could you imagine the sweat of betting them not to score in the first half? Like, no fluky plays, no nothing. That would be intense.
For sure, but it doesn't sound like a bet that I want to bet the other side either. Because
Yeah.
I think, would anybody be shocked if Michigan wins this game 21-0? Like, I don't think so. I think there is a bet for Iowa to score a touchdown. The line is a half. So if they score one touchdown, I think it's even money, because we've seen them score a lot of field goals. You're right, it sounds comically low, but also look at some of the totals they've had in these games, because hasn't that been the running joke of college football this year, is how low the Iowa totals have been? But yeah, they continue to hit the under. So yes, I get what you're saying. One fluky play and you get it, but still, I cannot make a case for Iowa's offense.
Okay, how about the Big 12 championship game? Texas and Oklahoma State. These are two teams that we follow fairly closely here in our neck of the woods. Is there any chance in your mind that Oklahoma State can cover that number right around 15, or are the Longhorns too talented and they are going to be able to pull away?
I think this line has moved too much for me to want to take it. Earlier in the week, it was sitting below 14, but now it's all the way at 15.5. It feels unplayable to me. So if it was under 2 touchdowns, I'd be on Texas here, because the Longhorns do have a point to prove here. They still have an outside shot of making the college football playoff. They will need to look excellent in this game. It just feels like a bad matchup here. Oklahoma State going against this Texas offense, and also this Texas defense has been really good at stopping the run. That's what Oklahoma State wants to do. So I just feel like it's a bad matchup on paper. Texas really motivated in this one. So I do feel like it is a Texas type of game, but going to be a no play. I think this line has moved too much.
Yeah, Oklahoma State's sort of stumbling into this game as well. All right, let's look to Sunday. Chelsea, what are some of your favorites on the slate there? I know a lot of eyes are on Niners, Eagles, and the curious line of the Eagles being home dogs. But what are we looking at here in the NFL on Sunday?
Yeah, I do like the Niners. And I know that might sound shocking to some, going against the Eagles at home, getting 3. But you've got to look at the situation that the Eagles are coming into this game with. Their schedule has been absolutely brutal and stressful. Their past 3 games, Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills in overtime. All 3 of those games have been 1-score games. They had a come-from-behind win on the road against the Chiefs. I'm sure you guys remember that one. They had the overtime win in the rain against the Bills. So situationally, in the NFL, this is where it's tough for teams to continue to bring out the magic. They do have Lane Johnson on the offensive line back for this one. It just feels like the Niners are a team that if you even have 1 quarter of a weakness, they're going to punish you for it. Because we've seen that with the Eagles. They have not looked especially dominant this season in most of their games. In the first half of that game against the Bills, Jalen Hurts had 44 passing yards or something? And I know it's hard to fade the Eagles, but I will take the Niners in this one. They've had 10 days off, more time to prepare, and a team that also is getting more healthy as well. So I'll take the Niners here, either on the money line or laying the 3 on the road against the Eagles.
I am with you on that. Chiefs are 6-point favorites on the road. A lot of money around here is going to go to the Chiefs. It feels like that's okay to me. That doesn't feel too big. Chiefs, Packers, you like Kansas City here, or are you staying away?
God, it feels like a number that's a touch too high for me. I do think the Chiefs win, but I'll be staying away from a side this game. I wouldn't be shocked if this game stays under, though. It feels like this Chiefs defense is still their calling card, which is surprising to say when Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback. But the Packers, kind of a team that offensively struggles for the most part. Jordan Love, I think, is going to struggle here against this veteran Chiefs defense. I think the under is probably worth a look. 42.5 seems low, but scoring has been down across the league. And so that's why I think you see some of these lower totals. That if something's not in the 30s, I feel way more comfortable taking it, because we're seeing a ton of totals now reaching the 30s. So I'd take a look at the under. It's not my favorite play, but I maybe like that better than laying 6 on the road.
And then what are some of your, before we let you go, what are some of your favorite NFL plays this week?
Yeah, I'll take the Cardinals plus 5.5. Feels like a great buy low spot on a team that just got absolutely punished by the Rams. But Sean McVay owns the Cardinals. That's a divisional matchup. And plus, Who thinks the Steelers are worth laying 5.5 points? Everybody is talking about how their offense finally accumulated over 400 yards, but they only scored 16 points. So I'm still not a firm believer in this offense. I don't think in any world I want to trust them to win by, more than a field goal. This is a team that has not won any game this season by more than a touchdown. So I'll take the Cardinals. Buy low spot on Kyler Murray. I know nobody wants to believe in him, but I'll take the 5.5 with Arizona.
All right, Chelsea, we appreciate it. Good luck with the bets this weekend. We're going to be lacking some college football the next time we talk, but that's all right. We'll have plenty of NFL still to come.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
There goes Chelsea Messenger, host of the Daily Tip, our Odyssey Sports Betting Insider. Insider calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. All right, we'll come back. We'll wrap up this hour, maybe a giveaway here in the next segment. And then we've got Tim Fitzgerald coming up. A lot to talk to Tim about with K-State, latest on the bowl situation, latest on the transfer situation, all kinds of good stuff coming for you. We'll have it all for you on Sports Daily when we come back. Primetime NFL games from Westwood One available live for free right here on KFH and on the Odyssey app. Tune into KFH tonight for Thursday Night Football. Dallas hosting the Seahawks. Or you can simply download the Odyssey app and search for KFH at kickoff. You can listen over the air. It's all ready for you at 6:30 tonight. Cowboys, Seahawks, Thursday Night Football. Getting ready for that. Let's give away a little coffee here, Tommy, for folks as we wrap up hour number one. We'll open up that IHOP hotline right now, 869-1242. Free Brewhouse coffees from HTO available for you. The coffee is at Wichita East and in Derby. Of course, you can get the iced tea there in West Wichita as well. But we'll get you a winner right now, 869-1240. Get some coffee, iced hot, however you like it, on us here at Sports Daily. Happy to do that for you. Tim Fitzgerald coming at the top of the next hour. Tommy looks, frustrated right here. Something's happened.
Yeah. So in the last couple of hours, I don't know if you saw this, Sports Illustrated named Deion Sanders the 2023 Sports Person of the Year.
Yep.
His team went 4-8 this year with Colorado.
Okay.
4-8.
Define Sports Person of the Year for me.
The top person in sports, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a dictionary. I'm just, basically saying that it's ludicrous. He's the Sports Person of the Year, and he went 4-8. His team went 4-8.
I'm not going to
get
an opinion thing from Sports Illustrated isn't going to ruffle my feathers too much. I would counter that to say he has certainly been the most interesting Sports Person of the Year. So I don't know how they define. I would have to go back and look at their history of that award winner to know a little bit more about what that means to be the Sports Person of the Year. I do think, though, Tommy, he has been the most interesting Sports Person of the Year. I don't think there's been a more interesting story this year than Prime to Colorado. Just the fact that he went there in the first place. The speech to have players leave if they want to, all of that, to winning those early games, then to coming back down to earth, finishing probably where more people thought Colorado would, and now dealing with that. I think as far as an interest level, I'm fine with it. I just don't know what they mean by saying Sports Person of the Year.
Okay, so here's the list, it looks like, of the most recent sports people of the year from Sports Illustrated. Steph Curry a year ago, Tom Brady 2 years ago. Then there were several in the COVID year of 2020. They had Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, LeBron James, Patrick Mahomes, Naomi Osaka, and Breanna Stewart. Then you go back before COVID, Megan Rapinoe, the Golden State Warriors as a team. They were the sports people of the year in 2018. And then back in 2017, Jose Altuve and JJ Watt.
Yeah, so they don't define this as the best sports person. They just, I think it is the most compelling.
Naming Tom Brady and Steph Curry and LeBron James.
What did Steph Curry do last year that would have made him the best at anything?
He was the NBA Finals MVP and the Warriors won a title.
Yeah, but he wasn't
Tom
the
Brady
same level
2 years
of Steph
ago
Curry.
Was the Super Bowl MVP and won a
Lauren
title.
Duvernay-Tardif, that's obviously a storyline award.
That's a storyline, but Patrick Mahomes, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Tom Brady, you're going to put what Deion Sanders did this year on the same level as those guys?
I think you're overthinking what this is. Number one, it's just a Sports Illustrated, this is an interest piece. I think it's interest. I think he's interesting, so I don't care. I don't care. But
person in sports. But
that's not what they call their award, though.
I get it, but the Sports Person of the Year, the last couple of years, they've named it the guy that won the title and was the MVP for the title.
I don't care what Sports Illustrated does. I think the Prime story has taken another really compelling and interesting turn with them struggling through the end of the season. I'm here for all of it. I love it. I think it'll be just as good next year. They're off season. Are we not all excited about their off season to see what happens? Is this a dud or is it going to continue the momentum, the adversity? This is Hollywood stuff with Prime. I get it. I don't care, but I don't have a problem with it.
They went 4-8 this year.
They did go 4-8. You're right. They did. And he was the most interesting person in the sports world this year too. So, I'm just saying, I get it. I don't have a problem with it. Is he the best? Is he the best coach? No. I don't know. I guess I just, whatever. We'll get into that. Let's go back to that in the second hour. I think it's an interesting topic. We'll have Tim Fitzgerald on next, though, on Sports Daily. We have, with K-State, there's a lot to get to. Transfer portal, bowl latest, all of this stuff. We'll do it next with Fitz on Sports Daily.
NFL Loud Mornings with Bob and Tom on 97.5 and 1240 KFH, Wichita's most listened to sports radio. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Wonka is here, and to celebrate, IHOP's teaming up with the brilliant inventor himself to create a brand new magical Wonka menu. Try magnificently mouth-watering items like Wonka's perfectly purple pancakes, Daydream berry biscuits, the fantastical Wonka burger, dreamy lemonade, and of course, hover chalk pancake tacos. Come be part of the magic and try the new Wonka menu for a limited time at an IHOP near you. And kids eat free from 4 to 10 p.m. See Wonka only in theaters December 15th. One free kids entree per full price adult entree. Restrictions apply.
Save big money in your next project right now at Menards. Always know who's at your door with a smart video doorbell from Fight Electric. From the delivery man to unwanted guests, see live video on your phone or smart device from anywhere and receive alerts when motion is detected. Pick one up today for $49.97 right now at Menards. Plus, a Menards gift card is always a great gift idea. Price is good through December 3rd.
Warm season's greetings to you all from Menards.
Attention, Wichita! The wait is over. The Wichita Ice Center is back open and cooler than ever. Lace up your skates. The ice is calling. And we can't wait to see you with family and friends at the Wichita Ice Center. For more info, visit wichitaicecenter.com.
Get ready to start the NFL week off right with FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of KFH. All customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay for Thursday Night Football. Just place a 3-leg same-game parlay on this week's game between the Cowboys and the Seahawks, and you'll get bonus bets back if you don't win. NFL same-game parlay is the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. Build your own or choose from one of the popular SGPs pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. I'm Ted the Sports Head. Visit FanDuel.com/Ted so you don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat same-game parlay on America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Kansas. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
When people have a craving to explore new and traditional Asian cuisines, they head to P.F. Chang's, where scratch-made dishes come from the 2,000-year-old tradition of wok cooking. P.F. Chang's wanted to explore new possibilities for their website. They turned to AmericanEagle.com. AmericanEagle.com re-architected P.F. Chang's website, integrating multiple third-party systems to create a unified digital experience. The results? Improved page speed and performance, personalized content based on users' location, intuitive online ordering, an increase in organic search visibility, and a 40% increase in new users. For scratch-made Asian cuisine, visit your local P.F. Chang's or go to pfchangs.com for website design, development, digital marketing, and hosting that produce efficiency, revenue, and results. Visit AmericanEagle.com. P.F. Chang's and AmericanEagle.com. Another example of the best businesses in the world. Turning to the best in the business for websites, go to AmericanEagle.com or call 877-WEB-NOW1. That's 877-WEB-NOW1.
Toppers Plus Truck Accessories has moved to a new location at 333 Northwest Street. Whether you're working or playing, Toppers Plus will get your truck ready with Rhino linings. Nothing beats a Rhino, the leader in sprayed-on truck bed liners that outperforms plastic drop-in rubber mats and paint-like coatings. They won't crack, peel, or warp and include a lifetime warranty. Toppers Plus, your Rhino dealer. Visit our new location at 333 Northwest Street or toppersplusks.com.
Make a truck work for you!
Save big every day during our 25 days of deals at Lowe's. Right now, get the lowest prices of the year on select major appliances. Get up to 45% off and save an extra $100 on every $800 you spend on select major appliances. And buy now, pay later with Lowe's Pay. Because Lowe's knows deals every day. Valid to 12/6. Appliance savings vary based on purchase amount. Exclusions apply while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for details. Subject to credit approval.
Introducing the all-new Apex family, infused with sustainable materials and crafted for durability to keep you moving and safe. Available now at Red Wing Shoes. Great for indoor and outdoor jobs in construction and manufacturing, Apex boots are purpose-built for on-the-job performance. Apex exists to help workers evolve to meet the demands of their jobs. Stop in and see us today. Red Wing Shoes, 6600 West Kellogg, and visit us on social media.
The KFH Studios, powered by Devon James Injury Lawyers. Call 888-8888. That's 888-8888.
JUCO men's basketball last night. 9th-ranked Butler Community College on the road at Coffeyville. Close game. Dennis Higgins had the call right here on KFH.
Rebounded by Deuce Drake. Drake gives it to Richardson, who goes in for an authoritative right-hand dunk. And he's fouled. Boy, Chris Richardson has got a double-double. He's got 12 rebounds now and 10 points.
The Grizzlies win it on the road 56-51. Butler ranked 9th in the nation, now on a 7-game winning streak with a record of 8-1 on the season. Hockey downtown Wichita last night at Intrust Bank Arena. 2,200 fans on hand. The Wichita Thunder down 3 goals in the third period, but then tied it up and win it in overtime. A minute and a half into overtime, Roman Canal with the game winner. Wichita down 3, comes back to beat Tulsa 5-4 in overtime. The Thunder has won 2 of its last 3, in 4th place in the division right now. I'm Ted, the Sports Head.
Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor. This is Sports Daily on Wichita's #1 sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
He's got all the insight on what you want to know and maybe some of what you don't want to know. Here's K-State insider Tim Fitzgerald.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. Sandstorm means it's Fitz time. Welcome in to Tim Fitzgerald. A busy, busy time in the world of K-State. The games are over for a little while, but this may be one of the more interesting and compelling, I don't know, like times of the Chris Kleiman era here, Fitz, as we learn who's staying, who's going, and the official sort of beginning of the Avery Johnson era. It's kind of an exciting time for K-State, I guess you'd call it, but it's certainly interesting if nothing else.
Yeah, you nailed it. It's exciting and scary for some folks, and trying to sort out everything going on in this modern era of college athletics, in which the NIL and the transfer portal kind of bend reality in ways that some of us don't understand. For example, my daily delivery this morning was about Nebraska coach Matt Rule pointing out that an experienced, proven quarterback to come to your program for 1 year is on the market right now about $1.5 to $2 million in NIL money. And when you add that to the Will Howard story, you're like, fight for a job against a young quarterback or get paid. And it makes a lot of sense.
I love it. I mean, I love it for Will Howard if that's on the table. Go do it. Too. He's a tweener guy. Yeah. And look, here, let's start there. Let's just start with those quarterbacks specifically. It caught me off guard, and that's my own fault, because I didn't expect Will Howard would be playing college football again next year. That thought hadn't honestly really crossed my mind. So now I look at it, and as we get the news, it almost to me, Fitz, seems like this has been predetermined. Like I can easily come up with a scenario, and this, you can tell me if this is off base because maybe you know, where the coaches have been very honest with both of these guys and have said, Will, we're riding with you the rest of the way, but man, after this year, we're gonna give it over to Avery. And Avery, hang tight. It's your show. You know, I don't know if they went back as far as the bowl game, but next year at the minimum, it almost seems like this has all been predetermined by K-State and how this would play out.
You know, I think if you ask the Johnson family what their expectations for this season were, it's probably what happened. You know, maybe a little more scattered usage through some parts of the season, but for the most part, I think they fully realized they were going to, you know, spend a year in a backup role, seeing minimal time while Will Howard played. You know, the part of this equation that got a little wacky is the fact that most of us didn't think about Will Howard having that COVID year. I knew he did, but I didn't realize he was going to use it. But then again, who even a year ago could project this kind of market value in the NIL world for an experienced quarterback that has proven that he could win games? And let's be honest here. Will Howard's been a productive quarterback. He stands as Kansas State's all-time touchdown passing leader. There's, you know, not much bad you can say about Will Howard. Other than this, he is a tweener. You nailed it. He's maybe an NFL guy in the right system at the right time, like Brock Purdy hit gold. But also, a lot of guys like Will Howard never play a snap in the NFL. So if you can go get this money now, go get it. If that's important and what you want to do with your last season, then I'm all for it. I think it's ruinous to college football at the end of the day, but that's not the duty of any kid or any player. They need to worry about themselves in these situations, and I'm glad he did.
The one thing I wonder about too, Fitz, and I wonder if I'm off base on this, but as I'm thinking about the future for K-State, and Avery Johnson clearly is the future, how much of this Will Howard decision do you think was predicated on not only Avery Johnson and his talent, but also the thought maybe from the coaching staff that if Will comes back, then Avery may go elsewhere? Yeah. I mean, like, he burned through the red shirt and he's incredibly talented. If I'm Avery Johnson, I'm thinking, man, if I've got to go through another year with Will Howard competing with him or in front of me, I might want to go elsewhere.
I think that's a real concern, and I don't think the Johnsons ever spoke it. Right. But I also think that any coach who's not thinking of these things in this current environment is not doing their job. And when you've got a prospect as obviously talented as Avery Johnson, 5 years ago, let alone 20 years ago, you probably just tell him to wait your turn, kid. You don't want to go somewhere and sit out a year. You don't want to go somewhere and start all over. You'll probably start by the time you're a junior. That doesn't work nowadays. When you've got a transformational player, you can't wait. You better put them on the field or they're going to be on the field for someone else. And again, that's empowering the players.
But shouldn't it be that way? Like I look at all, and I know it makes people uneasy to think that players have that kind of power. But imagine any other student on campus. They have the ability to go where they feel like they're going to grow the most. And why shouldn't they? Like, why should you get bound to this? Like, if Avery Johnson feels like he needs to be playing and he's not going to get the opportunity, he should have the ability to do that. It's not going to play that way out at K-State, but it does too often. And like, again, unless you're on a paid work agreement, like, I just don't see why there's any issue with it, as much as it might make people uneasy or not. That's the way it should be.
Let's put it this way. If the marketplace deemed great value in, let's say, biochemist grad students, which they do, but, they get a lot of free scholarships and those kind of benefits. But if all of a sudden there was an NIL market for them and institutions could say, look, we're going to pay $1 million to finish up your degree here, so you're a graduate of here, so this is the institution you rep and support, nobody would bat an eye at just a student, a grad student, getting paid 6-7 figures to finish up their degree. And that's kind of what's going on in the football space. And here's the problem. Here is the underlying problem and why this has turned into utter chaos. There's no ruling institution. There's an institution that is eager to screw over student athletes at every turn and kind of hold everything back for some kind of weird historical way they've done things. But until they get under control the rampant cheating happening in the NIL space, let's be clear, you're not supposed to be using NIL to recruit. And you certainly can't be extending informal NIL offers to players on other rosters while they're not in the transfer portal. But that is all going on. There are coaches out there literally trying to steal players off rosters from other schools. This is what has to stop. And I love how coaches hide behind, well, the NIL is ruining college sports, when in reality, the way institutions are bastardizing the NIL into a cheating scheme is what's ruining college sports, not these kids getting paid.
Okay, so what do the Wildcats do next season behind Avery Johnson? Obviously, Jake Rubley is transferring out. There was another backup quarterback transferring out on top of Will Howard. So, it's not only Avery Johnson, but right now it is only Avery Johnson. So what do they do moving forward? Are they going to try to pursue a transfer? Will they try to bring in a freshman? What does that look like?
Yeah, well, they do have a freshman signed, but Jacob Knuth came in from Minnesota. He was a scholarship player up there. He's out of South Dakota. He came down with the thought that this is where he wants to be. I mean, he wants to play football at Kansas State. And he was willing to forego an athletic scholarship in the transfer process because K-State didn't have one available, and took an academic scholarship to get him through while he's considered a walk-on. But that process of going from an athletic scholarship to an academic scholarship mandated in the old ways of transfers that he has to sit out a full year. He's not eligible for the bowl. Now K-State will indeed try to appeal that and try to get a waiver for him to go ahead and play in this bowl game. But as I just mentioned, the NCAA is an institution founded on telling student athletes no. I mean, it really is. They've got Blake Barnett coming in from Colorado. They are fired up about him. That gives you three guys in the quarterback room, and I'm sure they'll try to get a preferred walk-on to come in too, or maybe another scholarship guy if they want to go that route to supplement their room for next season. Well, that's next season. As of now, for the bowl game, Avery Johnson's the only quarterback on the roster. They're going to have to come up with a quarterback solution if Jacob Knuth is told no from within their roster, and that would be some kind of wildcat quarterback setup, and we'll see what they come up with.
So let's look after the bowl game then, because I love this opportunity for Avery. It's a perfect transition to him. I think it's great. You get the extra time to prepare. They'll play a good opponent, all that stuff. Let's look after this year. I think it starts with Ben Sinnott. Is Ben Sinnott going to the NFL, or is there a chance he comes back? Is he going elsewhere? What's the latest with what would you'd assume if he does come back, Avery Johnson's top pass catcher next year?
No, he's gone. I mean, he's already accepted a bid to the Senior Bowl, which he's eligible for as a redshirt junior. He won't play the bowl game. There's nothing for him to play for. He's one of those kids that will be a second day pick. He's a guy that could threaten for a higher pick by just testing well. So we'll see what happens here with some of the other guys that are running out of eligibility. We're hearing Cooper Beebe will play, and that doesn't surprise anyone who knows Cooper Beebe, but will anyone else step aside? And we're seeing transfer portal things happen for K-State right now as players clear out, they don't see their opportunities. It's been visible at quarterback with Will Howard, Jake Rubley, and Adrian Lara all hitting the portal. But I think Trayshawn Ward didn't see an opportunity to play as much as he wanted to because of DJ Giddens, and it's just kind of happening all over the place. But they're going to need to get settled into enough players to fill special teams and do it the right way in this bowl game.
How about the future of the running back position? Obviously, DJ Giddens really stepped into that feature back role this season with the loss of Deuce Vaughn after last season. And you mentioned Trayshawn Ward transferring out. I think that before the season started, I remember we talked about the impact that we thought that Trayshawn Ward could make, not really anticipating DJ Giddens really, I think, stepping into that role. So, I know Giddens is he's only a sophomore. So what does the future look like for the running back position?
Well, they do have a couple guys that are in the freshman class, the true freshman class that I think they feel good about. Joe Jackson out of Florida certainly being one of them. I'll be curious to see if they turn to the portal for any supplemental players at that position. I don't know that they will, but that all comes down to, do they feel like these guys can step into significant playing roles, even if it's the backup to DJ Giddens next year? And do they give you a little balance? Do they give you a little left hook with, the right jab that is DJ Giddens? Do they add something here to help them out? So that might be a position they look at the portal, or if they're enamored with the future of these young running backs, like they are with a lot of these true freshman players who will be all over the field at whatever bowl game K-State ends up at, will be very interesting.
So if the rules are now allowing teams to basically go get guys, who do the Wildcats most need to go get positionally next year for Avery Johnson in year one?
Well, I think we all recognize probably a little more punch at receiver. Now, again, they've got some freshmen. We've seen Jay Brown come on, but he's not the only freshman they like at that position. So maybe that's where they feel like we're just going to go young across the board and roll the dice with that and go through the growing pains. That will be a young quarterback with some young playmakers. Or maybe they want to go find another veteran receiver. We saw Keegan Johnson begin to settle in and step up towards the end of the year. I have a feeling he and Avery Johnson are going to become very good friends. I mean, I just feel like that's a connection that could really benefit both players. But yeah, I feel like maybe receiver, maybe left tackle, depending on John Pastore's development as an injured, riddled freshman season. There's a lot of positions on defense that I think they need help with that would improve the offense because they can get off the field. So I think the offense is in pretty good shape. And yeah, sure, they need to bring in some offensive linemen, but they like the young guys there too. But they're young guys, and you're going to have to grow up with them. And the start of next season could be interesting because let's keep in mind, K-State's non-conference schedule next year has Arizona on it, which is a pretty damn good football team all of a sudden, and Tulane, which has been a really good football team and is looking at their second straight New Year's Six appearance. And it's a non-conference schedule that will really, really test a young team.
So I know that it's obviously going to come down to the way that the Big 12 championship game plays out on Saturday between Texas and Oklahoma State. But what are you hearing so far about bowl projections for the Wildcats? It looks like there's really no consensus among all the different outlets that project these things. I've seen things about the Pop-Tarts Bowl, the Texas Bowl, the Liberty Bowl. There have been several of them that Kansas State is projected in. What are you hearing right now?
Well, we've been hearing all Pop-Tarts Bowl. That's the only thing we've really been hearing because they said a while back to the schools that whoever wins K-State KU game, we've had neither school, and we kind of want that school. Now we're hearing about a lot of lobbying going on. West Virginia's had a good season, and they've been to the Pop-Tarts Bowl, but that's the closest bowl to them, so that's a natural thing to lobby. And we hear Kansas is also lobbying for that bowl because they'll travel better, which I don't know if there's historical relevance to that. But I don't think the Pop-Tarts Bowl is a given for K-State. Maybe also from the K-State angle. Maybe going to that game across the country to play a pretty good ACC team, if there is such a thing, isn't what they want to do. Maybe they actually want to slide down a little bit into the bowl structure to have a little bit closer game in which more fans can attend. It's really cost prohibitive to go to that Orlando Bowl during this time of year. And maybe they end up at a different bowl. So we'll see. I don't think anyone in K-State's too overly wound up about it. They'll end up where they need to be. I know this, though. They are not going to the Liberty Bowl. They will decline that invitation to the Liberty Bowl and go to a much lesser bowl if that's how it plays out.
All right, Fitz, let's talk a little about basketball here. I still don't think we know a ton about K-State. I still think we're learning a ton about K-State. They're leaning heavy right now on a handful of guys. I guess my thing is, how big a role do you think some of these freshmen, I mean, Day-Day Ames stands out right now, carve out before this season's done?
I think it's significant, particularly with Day-Day Ames, because here's my concern. I just did a daily delivery on this. Tyler Perry's a really good player, but he's been an off guard his entire career. He's built like a point guard. He needs to be a point guard at the next level, and that's what he's trying to convert to at Kansas State, but it's been a painful process. He doesn't, as I put it, have really that point guard DNA that Marquise Noel has, those two point guards that see the court and understand what everyone's doing around him. And so this guy's come to a new program. He's learning about new teammates in a new system and a new position. Yeah, he's having some growing pains. Yeah, early in games, his first half stats, I need to figure them up. They stink. I mean, they're awful. And he gets better in the second half. And as we saw the other night against a pretty good ORU team, he was brilliant in the overtime. So it seems to me once he relaxes and just lets the game come to him and kind of intertwines his personality into being a point guard, he's going to be really good. He just needs some more time. But Day-Day Ames can take some of that pressure off him. And I think everyone thought R.J. Jones would be playing because he's a shooter, and there's a role for that. But all of a sudden, we figured out that Caleb Rich is indeed ready to play at this level, and he was the one we kind of thought might need the red shirt. That dude is a gamer. So I think once they can get all their parts back, most notably Naquan Tomlin, this team has a potential to grow into a pretty good team. I don't think they'll be as good as last year, but they're not going to be as bad as we're seeing right now. But they better get a little bit better pretty soon because they got Villanova coming to town in a couple Saturdays, and they will get dismantled by those Wildcats if they're not ready to go.
Arthur Kaluma came off the bench in the game against Oral Roberts and provided a really good spark for them. Do you think that that's going to be his role moving forward, or is he a starting rotation guy?
Yeah, that was interesting, and I didn't go to the post game, and I need to watch. I've been so busy, I need to watch that post game press conference better. But maybe that is what they're thinking in the future when they get Naquan back. I mean, you think about it, if they've got David Gasson and Naquan and Kaluma on the court, that really makes them bigger than what typically we've seen from this coaching staff. So, I mean, maybe they do want to bring him off the court. Maybe he's that X factor they think could come in like Desi Sills did last year. But once they get their roster back, including Quez Glover, an experienced guard will help them out there too. I think we'll have a better idea what they're thinking about with Kaluma. But boy, we just talked about Tyler Perry needing to settle in and let the game come to him. That's what's happening with Kaluma. He's been really good lately after a rocky start. And I think it's just a matter of getting acclimated to everything in your new surroundings.
All right, Fitz, we've got games coming up. We've got a bowl game to get ready for, the transfer portal latest. What do you guys have for us over at gopowercat.com?
Oh, man, it's like a circus. There's so many transfer portal things going on. And what's funny about some of these transfer portal things is you slap a story up and the response is, who's that? They're losing some guys to there. We're all over that stuff. We're continuing to crank out our basketball coverage, and our podcast went live today. And of course, we've got a bunch of other shows that we're just rolling out every day. We're going to probably do another Go Power Cat Live on Saturday following the basketball game and the Big 12 championship, and just talk to K-State and Big 12 and college sports fans about everything going on. It is one of my favorite times of year. I wish K-State was playing in the Big 12 championship, but my body is thankful that I get to sit around and watch TV and be at home on Saturday. And we'll make the most of it and try to provide some coverage for everyone.
I don't know how you guys keep up with it all, but we're glad you do. You can find Fitz at Life of Fitz on social media. The work, of course, at gopowercat.com. Our K-State Insider, Fitz. Let's do it again next week.
Thank you, boys. Great to talk to you.
There goes Tim Fitzgerald on that IHOP hotline, which, of course, you can get in touch with us on the show now. Open the rest of the way at 869-1240. Congratulations to Mark for winning the HTO Brewhouse coffee. Some breaking news here that we probably need to get into. Von Miller has a warrant out for his arrest. We'll get into that. That's just coming down the wires. What's going on there? And a look around the sports world. The Sports Daily continues. All right, welcome back in, everybody. Mentioned some breaking news there right before the break. Just get you that information. Von Miller faces an arrest in a domestic violence case in Dallas, apparently. His longtime girlfriend, this according to WFAA there, accused him of assaulting her at their home on Wednesday morning. His attorney has been contacted. That warrant is out for his arrest. He has not been arrested. The charges of assaulting a pregnant person, which is a third-degree felony. We'll obviously let that situation play out before we chime in too much on it, but it is out there and exists as something that's happening right now. So there you go. Von Miller, way back when, had some sort of investigation in Denver. I don't even remember the circumstances or if they ever came out because he was not charged, but a situation that certainly warrants keeping an eye on here as we make our way through the day in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm seeing this now, just as you are, and definitely something that it looks like the Dallas police. I'm reading a report right now. They are attempting to try to get Von Miller to turn himself in. That hasn't happened yet. I mean, obviously, in a situation like this, that's always going to be the cleanest way to make it happen. You have him turn himself in rather than, anything else that could potentially happen. So we'll be thinking about this and continuing to follow it as it continues to develop.
All right, another story that has sort of been brewing here. It's that stadium in Kansas City. Bob Fesco, who is a very well-known radio host up in Kansas City, reporting yesterday that he sort of knows somebody who's a part of the process who's telling him Jackson County is in bad shape as it comes to getting a stadium. So just to sort this out for both myself and the listeners, Tommy, Jackson County is the current home, right, in Kaufman?
Correct.
Okay, so that's the current home. So that would be who would in trouble. So then that opens the door potentially to a move toward downtown Kansas City on the other side, right? Not by like the T-Mobile Center, but on the other side of the road, basically, or Kansas. So what is the latest here from Kansas City?
Yeah, so of course we talked about it yesterday on the program and everything that's kind of been surrounding that. More details coming out as the day went on yesterday. And Bob Fesco from our sister station, 610 Sports Radio in Kansas City, he tweeted about it yesterday about how he's got connections and insiders that are saying that it's not looking good for Jackson County. He had Manny Abarca, who is one of the Democratic legislators in Kansas City, on Fesco in the Morning this morning, talking about the situation. I think we have that audio, so let's go ahead and play that, Jed.
Manny Abarca, one of the legislators for Jackson County, is with us here on 610 Sports Radio. And Manny, I know you've kind of been in the middle of all of this with the stadiums, with the Chiefs, with the Royals. I'm just going to throw it out to you right now, my man. Where do we stand with Jackson County and the Chiefs and the Royals at this point in time?
Good morning, guys. Yeah, so I asked that question yesterday, actually, to the folks who are in the room still. And they told me there's no room to be in at the moment. There's nothing that's happening. So we're dead at the wheel.
So Jackson County is dead at the wheel when it comes to the Royals and Chiefs?
As far as I'm aware of, and I've the chair of the stadium committee and trying to understand what's happening, there's been no progress in the last, I would say, probably 3 to 5 weeks. But this week alone, there's been no communication.
Yeah, definitely interesting there. I don't know did you hear any of that, Jacob? Did you hear any of those comments from?
I heard the
Manny
very
Abarca?
end of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically saying dead in the water, that there's no progress on any sort of developments or conversations between Jackson County and the Royals. Manny Abarca is the chair of the stadium committee, and talking about how there really has been no progress, no communication, nothing.
Look, I don't know that Jackson County has an appetite for this. I think that's always been the case. I don't think the stadiums need to stay where they are. And then, I know Chiefs fans with Arrowhead and the Arrowhead's going to get tied into this. And, they're either going to want renovations or they're going to want a new stadium because that's the way things work. So I'm not surprised by that. I don't blame them. The reality is, let somebody else pay for it, and you're probably going to see some of the same benefits. There's just not a lot that's happening around that area right now that's a big economic driver. So the economic driver comes within the stadium. If they stay, really, no matter where they go, Like if they move over to the Kansas side, if they go and I'm speaking a little out of turn here because I don't know the ins and outs of it, but most of the driver and the jobs that come from the stadiums, Tommy, will probably be the same jobs, whether they're however many miles up the road, whether they're within a half hour in any different direction. Like, I don't think people are going to lose their jobs that are currently employed there. You just have your job in a different location, essentially. So if there's not a lot happening around the stadiums anyway, I get it. Like if I'm a taxpayer in Jackson County, it's like, well, let this other county pay for it. We can still go to the games. Our people can still work there. Like they might have to drive a little bit further to work, but okay. Like I honestly, like I get it.
You better believe that Wyandotte County, they are working it right now as far as trying to get the Chiefs and the Royals
Really
over
the
to the
entire
Kansas
state of
side.
Kansas.
Right. I mean,
yeah.
but I mean, really where, Kansas City, Kansas is with the Legends development, and think about everything that's there already, the Kansas Speedway and Children's Mercy Park and Hollywood Casino. And there's a Great Wolf Lodge there and Cabela's. I mean, it is a destination, and it's something that I think that area would probably welcome. They would probably welcome the economic development in that area. Again, the taxes get a little messy at that point, and what that means for the residents of that county, the residents of the state of Kansas. But you better believe, and you've said it multiple times on this show, that if, especially the Chiefs move over to Kansas, then at that point you've got a great export in the state, and you've got tourism dollars and all of that coming in to the state of Kansas.
Yeah, it's very different when those so like let's think about it for a second. One, the city of Kansas City doesn't lose the Chiefs if they go to Kansas. The state of Missouri does, I think. But Missouri is not like, again, you got different circumstances. When you have cities like Kansas City and St. Louis and these things, and the populations are so massively different in the two states, there would be more of an appetite on the Kansas side to bring that over. Absolutely. As far as a benefit to the state, because the city of Kansas City itself, again, they get all the same benefits of having the Chiefs anyway. Like nothing really changes in the city of Kansas City if they're playing over there. Does the city of Kansas City not claim Sporting KC?
Right. And
like it's a fun
I've
trivia question.
Yeah.
Like that the only pro sports team in Kansas is Sporting KC, but nobody knows or cares. Right. When the Royals first made the World Series, half the country thought they were in Kansas anyway.
Yeah. I've read these ridiculous social media takes over the last 24 hours that if the Chiefs move over to the state of Kansas, they're going to lose a significant amount of support from the fans that live in Missouri. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like,
who are they going to become fans of?
I don't like the St. Louis Rams. I mean, come on, like who are you going to cheer for at that point? Like, that's not going to happen. I guarantee you that if they move across the border, they will not lose any kind of fan support. Now, there are going to be people that are disappointed that they're not going to be in the legendary Arrowhead Stadium if that ends up happening. I get all of that. Like I would be too. I mean,
but they may not be there anyway.
Right. Arrowhead is legendary and it's an amazing place to watch a football game, right? It's iconic. I love it. But it doesn't mean that if they move somewhere else, I'm going to say I'm burning all of my gear that I've got for that's not realistic at all. And I don't think it's realistic for anybody to say that they're going to lose fan support if they literally move across the border to the neighboring state.
You're naive if you're Missouri. If you've ignored the betting aspect, there's just too much money for the Chiefs to make with other opportunities that they're not being warranted in the state of Missouri. And if the state of Missouri loses the Chiefs, it would no longer have a pro football team, number one. But that's their own fault. They've dragged their feet on this betting thing. They can't get, everybody to agree. And the Chiefs are just sitting here. Like the Chiefs are in such a great position. All the pressure has been on the Royals.
Right.
Like the Chiefs have not had to eat any of this. And now let's say they did go to Kansas, and I still think that's a long shot. But a shot that, again, I've been calling for 2 years now with the sports betting. I'd tell you that 2 years ago. Watch Kansas get betting, and the reason they're doing it, and it's bipartisan, is because the Chiefs have just hinted that they might. And boom, 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 everything's lining up. I'd still call it a long shot, but it's why these things are happening. If it were to happen, the Chiefs are like, they're innocent in all this to some degree because they can say, like this, like everybody look at the Royals. Like they're the reason we're doing this,
the
right?
Royals are taking the bullets right now. And that's, I mean, Clark Hunt has got to be the happiest guy in the world throughout this entire process.
He's going to get whatever he
because-
wants.
yeah.
I think what the Chiefs want more than anything is to renovate Arrowhead as it currently stands.
Yeah.
That's what I think the Chiefs want the most, but they're not going to do that
let me pose
if
this.
they don't have the Royals and the taxpayers paying
Right.
the money and they don't have betting.
Let me pose this to the people that have said that the Chiefs are going to lose fan support if they move across the border into the state of Kansas. Let's take a look at the 49ers. They moved to Santa Clara in 2014. Did they lose support from their fans because they're 40 miles away now? No, like they're still the San Francisco 49ers. I can't imagine that there are people that say, I'm no longer a fan because they moved to Santa Clara. I can't imagine that that's the case.
Well, they're not. There's not those people. The Cowboys moved from Irving to Arlington.
Right.
They still call them the Dallas Cowboys. Like, it doesn't matter.
My
Like,
Atlanta
it really
Braves
doesn't.
in baseball, they moved from Atlanta to Cobb County. They're in a completely different county than the Atlanta Metro. And they still are the Atlanta Braves. Like this sort of thing happens from time to time. And if I'm the fans, and I get the nostalgia and I get, I love Arrowhead. Don't get me wrong. Love going to games in Arrowhead. I would love to see the Chiefs in Arrowhead forever. That being said, though, if they do end up moving, just count your blessings that they're not going to another market entirely.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I felt that way about the Rangers ballpark in Arlington. That was my mecca, right? That was my sports happy place. Now I kind of like air conditioning. So it's like, whatever. It'll be fine. They just won a World Series. I don't really care anymore. 869-1240 if you want to weigh in on that. We want to go. We'll go back in our final full segment to the Sports Illustrated Sports Person of the Year that's got Tommy fired up. It doesn't have me feeling the same way, but we'll dig into it a little bit. Deion Sanders named that Sports Person of the Year. I'll tell you why I'm starting to like it more when we come back. 869-1240 on the IHOP hotline. Jad Chambers manning it. Albracht and Castor. More Sports Daily after this. All right, welcome in, everybody, to Sports Daily. All right, so Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor here. Tommy's mad that Sports Illustrated called Deion Sanders their Sports Person of the Year. Sports Person of the Year. All right, so this is the quote. Presented the award, this is according to Wikipedia, so take it for what it is. The athlete or team whose performance that year most embodies the spirit of sportsmanship and achievement. It's changed. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of. So I read this as when I see Prime get this as interesting, right? There have been some other occurrences of where interesting or compelling has taken it. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, obviously, for his work as a doctor during the COVID pandemic, is the most recent. J.J. Watt got one when he raised all the money for Houston after Hurricane Harvey. You go back in Brett Favre in 2007 won it for his, quote, perseverance and his passion.
Okay.
So there have been occurrences, right? There have been occurrences where they have basically just given it to the most interesting person to them on the calendar. I think that's where Prime fits. I do think it's unique. I think the way that he captured the attention of literally everybody when Colorado football was the highest rated must-see TV for a long time in college football this year and in the offseason. I get it. I don't have a problem with it. I kind of like it the more I think about it. But, you know, whatever. It's just like it's not an MVP award or anything.
Well, when you read the description, the word that you used in that description was achievement. Achievement.
Yeah, I know, but
he went 4-8. They went 4-8 this year, right? Like
they've obviously, that's a definition from when the award was created, and they've obviously, you know, gotten away from that. And his achievement was commanding the attention of the entire country to me.
Was he interesting? Absolutely. Was I tuned into Colorado football the first couple weeks of the year? Absolutely. Did it dominate the news cycles? Absolutely.
First 2 months of the year.
But you know what? Like, I'm going to present to you a quick list of 3 guys that I feel like should have gotten this award over Deion. And I'm going to rank them 3, 2, and 1. So number 3 is Shohei Ohtani. I think Shohei Ohtani, and I know he got hurt, but what Shohei Ohtani did from an individual perspective, and he's done that the last couple of years, the fact that he's not been named the Sportsman of the Year at any point is...
He should have got it
it's
a year ago.
He should have gotten it a year ago, but I think he was deserving
appalling.
of it.
It's across all sports.
I think it was deserved. Is there a better athlete in any sport right now than Shohei Ohtani? Probably not. Probably not, but he's number 3.
How do you compare a basketball player to a baseball player?
Well, he's number,
Like,
he's
it's
number
hard.
3. I've got him number 3, and only because he got hurt and his achievements were not, as great as they were a year ago. Lionel Messi at number 2, because Lionel Messi, he took the world by storm also when he joined MLS. He's the greatest soccer player of all time, set the MLS world on fire this season. I would put him at number 2. And then number 1, and it's ridiculous to me that this guy did not get the award. Nikola Jokic should have been the Sportsman of the Year for what he did with the Nuggets, leading them to a championship, and just his overall achievements this season.
Well, why wouldn't you give in the Jokic light? Why wouldn't you give it to Corey Seager for winning a second MLB MVP and taking a franchise to their first world title ever?
Because Corey Seager didn't dominate the entire league the entire year. He had a great playoff stretch.
Neither did Steph Curry in 2022.
But Nikola Jokic did this season, right? Like, he was the best player in the NBA this past season, was the NBA Finals MVP, led the Nuggets to a championship, 24 points per game, almost 10 assists per game, 12 rebounds a game. He averaged almost a triple-double this season.
But couldn't you have given it to Patrick Mahomes for those same reasons
Sure.
a year ago? Or, for winning a Super Bowl and an MVP after losing his weapons and reinvent? That's what I mean. Like, so it's not so simple as to just pick the best athlete in a sport. I do think there is a compelling, there needs to be a compelling nature to it.
You don't think Nikola Jokic was compelling? You don't think
Sure, he would have been a great...
Shohei Ohtani's the most compelling baseball player that we've ever seen.
I agree. Why didn't Aaron Judge win it when he reset the most important record in sports, the home run record? He didn't win it then. Like, that's what I mean. Like, there's going to be 1,000 deserving candidates
but
when you go across all sports.
What you're doing then is you're lending credibility to what I'm saying, that it shouldn't have been Dion. That there are multiple.
No, I think it's fine that it's Dion.
There are multiple other athletes that achieved far more than what Coach Prime did at Colorado this year.
What I'm saying is you're never going to get it right because you're going. It's like what are the awards ESPN does? Like when you're trying to pit one championship against the other, it's all relative.
You may never get it right, but at least you could be more right than you were in picking Coach Prime.
I like it as compelling. I like it as interesting. I cannot remember off the top of my head a story or an individual that has commanded the attention of everybody the way that he did early in this season.
For a few weeks.
Everybody. That's fine. That's okay. Everybody has been taught, and maybe it's not as much now, but everybody's still interested in what happens with him.
Are they?
I think so. Because now you've got the haters out there like waving their, I told you so.
Yeah,
See, I told you so.
I'm not trying to be a hater at all. I mean, like I said, it's been interesting.
No, I'm not saying you're a hater.
Compelling.
I'm saying the haters are now out, so everybody is still paying attention to it. It is unique. There is a unique nature to the way this commanded everybody's attention that makes it a fine choice to me. Are there other people that could have won? Sure there are. But I think if you take an award like this, that's going to be the case every single year. There's always going to be somebody else that could have won it because you're trying to go across every sport. That's impossible to do. MVPs can be a little more, subjective, but this has got to be an objective award. And so, that's all right.
You cannot get any less.
I'll tell you this.
You can't get any less subjective by selecting Coach Prime.
Well, you can because you could use ratings, you could use whatever you wanted to use as the metric. I'll tell you this: I haven't paid attention. I couldn't have told you who the sports person of the year was in any year before this last hour. So I guess it worked for Sports Illustrated in that way. I've never paid attention to this award before. We'll come back. We'll wrap it up. We'll tell you what's on tap next on Sports Daily. All right, everybody, that's it for us on Sports Daily. Jim Rome from 11 to 2, then Bob and Jeff here will take you on KFH till 4 o'clock. You've got Thursday Night Football featuring the Cowboys and the Seahawks, a good matchup for once. Primetime NFL games from Westwood One available for live for you on the air here at KFH and on the Odyssey app. Tune in or simply download the Odyssey app and search for KFH. Enjoy it, everybody. I'm out tomorrow. I'll send my picks in to Tommy and Jad. For Jad and Tommy, I'm Jacob. We'll see you then.